All right, Stokastic, here we go. It's your old pal EMac coming to you with a little NBA live before lock, Sunday style here with the one and only Matt LaMarca. Matt, how are you doing? We haven't done a show in like a million years.
It's been a long time. I'm doing well. Kind of got the engine going a little bit yesterday with Greg, and now we're ready to hit it full steam.
Excellent. I'm glad to hear that. I can't remember if we sneak a baseball show in. I can't remember if I did one with you or Savoca. I did a rando one there.
Yeah, I don't think it was me. So
yeah, way back at the beginning. I was like, oh, this is kind of fun. We get to talk another sport. But here we are talking a little NBA. NBA Sunday. You know what that means? Shenanigans.
Overlay, hopefully.
Well, could be some overlay, could be some shenanigans, and not the wee little shenanigans, the annoying ones, like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander overexerting himself so he may sit out the home opener tonight. Hat tip to Mark Daigneault for just not knowing what to do as a first-time head coach. Moron. Unbelievable.
Yeah, you could tell EMac is not happy about this one. I just think that it's tanking related if he sits. Like, they're going to be doing this all year, unfortunately.
But when did this stuff start? Week 1. Indiana tanking, Spurs tanking. It's rampant. OKC tanking, Utah trying to tank but winning. Yeah, Minnesota trying to win but losing.
And then the 76ers, you can put in that category too. 0-3, losing to the Spurs. So
I feel so bad for these guys. I mean, you've got. And then anybody that was still around in survivor pools today for the NFL, they went Tampa Bay. Oops.
Fortunately, I had already used them. I need the Patriots on Monday night. That's my pick for the week. Looking to stay.
Living large. Will you be dressing up as your alter ego, the defensive coordinator? I'm blanking on his name. Matt Patricia.
Yeah, where's my pencil?
Yeah, you need a pencil here. You gotta get this Met stuff out of there, and you gotta get maybe a throwback. You go with the Detroit Lions.
My play sheet. Where's my play sheet at?
Yeah, you need a big clipboard here too. That'll be good. All right. Well, as we're having fun talking a little NFL, we'll get into the NBA here because, of course, we do have 5 games tonight. There are going to be moving parts. The thing we were sort of joking about at the beginning is weird things happen on Sunday. They totally do. And part of that is because beat reporters aren't always around. You get teams coming into new cities. They may have had a little bit too much fun on Saturday night. Anybody that's on a back-to-back, you're rolling the dice with. And then, of course, all eyes are on football. So if you're caught up with Monday Night Football or Sunday Night Football, you may end up missing breaking news. So just keep an eye on that. Of course, if you're following the Stokastic Twitter channels, you can get the breaking news, or even better, get into the Discord, hit those push notifications, and you get everything consolidated all at once. That's very, very helpful. You guys can get in for 10 days, just $10 using the promo code Hardwood. Not a bad promo code there. We'll have some fun with that later, of course, but that is $10 for 10 days, or 10 days for $10. However you want to look at it. But it's promo code Hardwood, and that is going to be expiring very, very soon. The next really good deal like that happens maybe around New Year's, if we even do one this year. That's a long time between now and then. We have lots of holidays. Halloween, Thanksgiving, Veterans Day, Christmas. We got a lot of stuff between now and then. So keep that in mind. All right, so we're going to go game by game on this one. We'll talk about our sponsor here and there throughout the show, but that promo code Hardwood is going to be the one that you really want to be thinking about. We also have the BetMGM no-brainer bet in the link below us. In the description below us, you can click on the link. If you come in and bet, there's a 7 o'clock NHL game. If you bet $10 on the NHL money line game tonight, if there is a goal scored in that game, you will get $200. Remember, NHL rules, no more ties. They go to overtime and then shootout. There are no more ties in the NHL regular season. So good to know. Good to know. Matt, let's start off here with, shall we go to Washington? The Wizards, my adopted team. They're 2-0. They have a chance to win tonight. They are on the road in Cleveland. Cleveland is playing on a back-to-back. Cleveland will be without Darius Garland, dealing with an eye injury. Donovan Mitchell looked amazing last night. His price came down because the algorithm already spit the stuff out, but his price came down a little bit on DraftKings, stayed about the same on FanDuel. He was one of my recommended plays yesterday. He's definitely a recommended play today. You've got some intriguing front court options. The key thing you want to remember about the Wizards is that under coach Wes Unseld Jr., they were middle of the pack last year from a defensive perspective. Yes, they were still allowing 112 points per game, but that was the middle of the pack as compared to their defensive efficiency the previous 3 years, where they were last twice and second to last once. So there is a bit of an improvement there, but we know that they don't do well on opposing guards. That seems to be the hole in their defense. We've already seen Buddy Hield, Tyrese Halliburton, and DeMar DeRozan take him to task. So I really like Donovan Mitchell. Handing the entire game over to you here, let's start with the Wizards, since I didn't really talk about them. What do you like here? Some new faces, a competent basketball team, potentially. They have a shot at the play-in game. How are they going to break my heart?
Well, I'll believe that.
Anybody bringing guns to the locker room? No, not this year.
I sure hope not. The Wizards, it seems like, are going to be one of the least popular teams on this slate. Nobody really catching a ton of projected ownership at the moment. Bradley Beal hasn't been the best start to the season for him. The minutes have been there. The usage just kind of down to start the season. And part of the reason why is because Kyle Kuzma continues to play some excellent basketball, right? He was somebody that last year at times displayed an excellent ceiling, but for the most part, those games came when the team was missing either Beal or Porzingis or somebody else, and he had to shoulder some of the extra scoring responsibilities. This season, he's kind of doing it with those guys in the lineup. He's at 1.25 DraftKings points per minute to start the season, and he scored at least 38 DraftKings points in both games. So he's somebody that I'm looking to here as a somewhat contrarian option. His price has also come down a little bit. He was 7,100 in his last game. He's down to 6,800 now. It's not a game that I think you want to get crazy with your exposure. It's got the lowest total on the slate, but Kuzma's somebody that I think makes a lot of sense at his current price tag.
All right. Yeah. Bradley Beal kind of doesn't need to carry the team quite as much as he did. They're still kind of figuring it out. As you mentioned with him, Porzingis and Kuzma there, they have, I'm blanking on his name. Monte Morris is kind of in the mix. They insist on starting Denny Abdia, who doesn't like to shoot the ball. He's a fine player, but he's frustrating as heck for fantasy purposes. He'll get the random double-double, usually flirting with it on rebounds of all things. But he is more of your kind of traditional European glue guy, and not real. Reminds me of Tomas Satoransky, except he's better at rebounding, not as good at ball handling. But hey, they're good for your team, right? Just not so good for your fantasy lineups here. Anything else you want to mention about the Wizards, and we could talk about the hometown Cavs?
I do think Denny is a good source of value on this slate. He's 3,900. Playing a decent handful of minutes. You mentioned the permanent productivity isn't the best, but it's not terrible either. He was at 0.85 DraftKings points per minute last year. He's up over 1 in that department. Now, granted, he's only played like 31 minutes so far this season, but I think you could use Denny potentially as a source of value tonight. But pretty much him and Kuzma are, for the most part, that's really where I'm interested in on this team.
All righty, let's go to Cleveland. So Cleveland obviously traded Colin Sexton as part of the deal for Donovan Mitchell. They don't have Darius Garland, who is out with the eye injury. So it's going to be all Donovan Mitchell all the time. Fortunately, he's a capable combo guard. This game is setting up nicely for him. Hard to see him with less than 20 field goal attempts. That's kind of what he's averaged the last couple of years. But in today's game, he should see somewhere around that. I think he had 19 last night, ended up putting up, what was it, like 32 points or 37 points. Just going from memory there. Gets a little fuzzy because I went to bed about 11:15, didn't get to see the end of everything, including my alma mater. Go Huskies. I made it midway through the second quarter. And I had to go to bed. My other buddy in Virginia that's watched it, he was sending texts to all of our friends in Seattle. It was like, okay, it's 1 a.m. I can't make it any farther. They ended up winning. So, hey, I think they're bowl eligible now or about to be. So, but in any event, so some of this is going from memory, a little fuzzy after getting up early and staying up late. But Garland is the one that really is going to be the point guard. So now that means Shetty Osman is going to be in the mix. It's just, it's a cast of thousands kind of after Mitchell. You also have Kevin Love got hot last night. Just was draining them from threes. If you go look at that box score, had a double-double. I don't think we'll see that kind of efficiency every night, but it's something he could do against the Wizards. Then you got Jared Allen, you got Mobley, kind of some redundant skill sets there when you don't have another floor spacer out there. What is your take on the Cavs?
Yeah, so first off, I want to apologize to there was somebody out there yesterday who asked a question about Kevin Love, and me and Greg just kind of laughed it off the stage. And obviously that did not age well. And in hindsight, it probably is somebody that we should have given at least a bit of a deeper look, just with the Cavs not having Darius Garland. So I'm going to make up for it. I do think that you could play Kevin Love at any time he's 5K. He's not going to see more than, 22, 23 minutes. So he does have a wide range of outcomes on most nights, but clearly he can go for 40 plus, and anybody that can do that in that kind of playing time is worth considering in tournaments at 5K. He's got a positive leverage score in the boom bust tool today. So I think you can use Kevin Love, and I apologize for steering us wrong yesterday. For the rest of the team, Donovan Mitchell for sure is a priority guard tonight. He's been doing everything for the Cavs, right? I mean, we knew the usage would be there because that's the kind of player that he is. He's just never been a guy that has been sub 30%. Like, he even came in as a rookie and was kind of dominating the ball for the Jazz. But the assists are up. The rebounds have been there. With no Garland, I think for sure he's a lock and load stud tonight. But I do worry that his impact is really going to make life tough for the rest of this team. I mean, Karis LeVert's fine too, because he's pretty cheap at 5,800. But like Evan Mobley, me and Greg kind of talked about him yesterday. I don't know if we're going to see the same kind of year from him just because the shot attempts are going to be down.
The shot attempts are going to be down. It makes it tough. He's not really surprising anybody. They kind of have ideas on his drop steps, his various moves, etc. And while, look, this is not team grind the tape. This is teams understand tendencies of the other players, study them, figure out their best moves. And especially for the young guys, they got to then figure out a counter move to the move that it now was working, but is not anymore because people aren't falling for it, right? It's the dance that they do down there in the paint, right? This is nothing new. We see this oftentimes constantly. As these young guys are starting to develop and figure stuff out. I mean, not everybody gets to be Hakeem Olajuwon with the dream shake, so that was such an unstoppable move. Shout out to him. Nasty. Or Dirk Nowitzki with the unstoppable step back, no matter what. He could be out there in 10 years and still get his shot off, right? It's one of those where they just have to learn the differences, and we'll see where teams are catching up on them. Karis LeVert is someone I think we play him because it is just a 5-game slate, and he's reasonably priced. I'm playing just on DraftKings tonight, but he is someone. God, it feels like I get him wrong every time. He's such a fun player to watch, and he's so talented. But I swear, half the time he's like deferring to himself, meaning he goes for his shot in horrible situations, and then other times we're like, dude, you're cooking, keep going, and he's passing them. I don't know. I can never understand him. But he is a talented player. It's just your mileage may vary on that one. Have we wrung most of the information out of our first game here, Matt?
Yeah, I think the only other thing is they did release the starting lineup. Isaac Okoro will be in there again. Okay. I'm personally not playing him at 3,900. He has averaged, and this is not a typo, 0.03 DraftKings points per minute this season. 0.03 for Mr. Isaac Okoro. And it's not like
borrow a line from Animal House. Is that even possible?
Yeah. He was only at 0.58 last year. So yes, he's cheap. The minutes are going to be there, but there's just no ceiling with this guy. So I would much rather go elsewhere for a value play.
All right. As we move on to the next game, everybody, please do hit that thumbs up button. It does help us as we do battle with that pesky YouTube algorithm. We are cruising towards 82,000 subscribers. You can always subscribe, hit that notification bell, and know whenever we go live, because we are doing shows constantly. 38 pieces of NFL content last week across the 4 different YouTube channels that we have here. Yes, 4 different YouTube channels under the Stokastic banner. That does include the Odd Shopper channel, the Stokastic Fantasy Football, and of course, our main Stokastic channel. So definitely check that out. Utah at New Orleans. I don't know how Utah won. The finisher, Lauri Markkanen, apparently is just going to shoot all year. It looks like, at least that's what the trend says after 2 games. You have a healthy New Orleans Pelicans team for the first time. 4 amazing players there. They all kind of cannibalize each other. They're all going to be in the mix. It's just going to be frustrating. We're never going to be able to pinpoint most nights who's going to have the better game among them. Okay, so you have Jonas Valanciunas and Zion battling each other for rebounds. That also does impact Brandon Ingram. And then, of course, Ingram is good with the secondary assists and scoring, which sort of overlaps with CJ McCollum. But those are the 4 we really are interested in. Talk to us. Let's start with that quartet first. And then are there any secondary, or I guess at this point, there are no secondary plays. There's those 4, and then there's tertiary plays from this team. What do you like from New Orleans?
Yeah, it looks like CJ there is going to catch the most ownership. That makes sense when you look at where the price tags have been at for those 4 players to start the year. They've all been very good on a per minute basis. CJ's been the worst, but he's been at still 1.2 DraftKings points per minute. You'll gladly take that at his price tag. Zion, he's been playing around 30 minutes. I think that kind of makes him tough for me at 8,800. He's an incredible basketball player. It wouldn't shock me if he got there at that number, but you typically want a little bit more playing time upside, and I just don't see that with Zion at the moment. Ingram, Valanciunas, again, Valanciunas coming off a monster game in his last outing. We've seen that from him in the past. He has a really high ceiling every time he takes the floor. But again, the minutes, he's kind of been sub 30 to start the year. Granted, some blowouts, but I think CJ's the guy that you can feel the best about here in this group. All these top guys, though, I will say, have a positive leverage rating for the Pelicans tonight. So they are all viable, right? I mean, all four guys have a ceiling. I just think that CJ is kind of the safest of the bunch.
All right, let me get the filters going here. I see some people asking about, let's see, what did they mention? Trey Murphy down there, sneak peek behind the paywall. We do have him for 17 DraftKings points. Again, use that promo code HARDWOOD, get 10 days for just $10. That's not just NBA, that's everything. That's all the sports, all the content, the whole kit and caboodle for just $10. Larry Nance Jr. will disappear game after game after game. Jackson Hayes is healthy and apparently able to play. I don't like any of these guys. Even Herbert Jones he might get a little bit more, he may end up with a little more playing time on average than some of these others, but even that's no guarantee, because how much would it take for Najee Marshall to come out, drop three shots in a row, and all of a sudden he's going to get the hot hand minutes over Herb Jones, right? It really, going after anybody other than these four is kind of a fool's gold. And these four guys, we still don't know which one's going to be the best from night to night. So it makes them tricky as well. So it's a very tenuous situation. Someone will end up resting at some point. Someone will get dinged up. There will be plenty of time time throughout the season where we'll be able to go to these guys with a little more certainty. But if they're running at full staff, it's not really going to happen. Jose Alvarado, point guard, 3,800. DK, you're burning a point guard spot.
It's a pass for me.
Yeah.
I do think that like from a minutes perspective, Herb Jones is okay. I think his minutes are a little bit safer than you may have alluded to, but the problem is he's going to be like a single digit usage guy for most of the year. He's out there to defend.
Yeah.
So
it just makes it tough. But couple rebounds bounce his way, deflects a few passes, gets credit for the steal. All of a sudden you're in business. Or he gets single-digit fantasy points on that single-digit usage. It's very difficult, very difficult. Moving on to the visiting team, Utah, we kind of hit on Lauri Markkanen. He is 6,300 on DK. You have Mike Conley. I'm just waiting for him to get dealt to a contender at some point, right? Isn't that kind of the thought? Is this his age 37 season? I got to go check that out. He's like Chris Paul's age. You've got him, Kelly Olynyk, somewhat intriguing at 5,200. He does have that power forward designation on DK. If he's center only on your site, there's going to be center is the underpriced position across the DFS landscape. But anybody that's got power forward is a little intriguing at least. And then that's what keeps me from Walker Kessler at center. I just don't want to burn the spot there. What do you think here of all these new guys? Like, everybody's new on this team with the exception of Rudy Gay, Jordan Clarkson, and Mike Conley. They cleaned house.
Yeah, I got to tell you, I really like this team tonight. Maybe the Pelicans are just going to be a juggernaut this year and blow everybody out. I still need to see more before I'm willing to go that far, but it looks like this entire team is kind of underpriced for the amount of minutes that they're playing, with the exception of Colin Sexton, right? He's 5,300. He's only playing around 20 minutes a night now. Eventually, he's going to be the starting point guard, and Mike Conley is going to be elsewhere. But for now, he's coming off the bench. They're taking it very careful with his injury. But I think Clarkson, Markkanen, Conley, especially Olynyk. I love Olynyk tonight at 5,200. He's coming off 34 and a half minutes in that last game. If he plays 34 and a half minutes, he's like a 7K player easy. He's a very good per minute scorer. And I'll even have some Rudy Gay exposure at 3,600, right? Rudy Gay kind of seems penciled in for like 20 minutes a night at this point. And he's another guy that can get us to around a fantasy point per minute. So I think he's a solid value play. I think all their top guys, for the most part, are underpriced. Utah is a team that I really like tonight.
All right, that little bit of a surprise, but we have to shift our mindset. This is no longer the Utah team that we've become. It's not steady. It's still not sexy, but it's not the steady. We know who it's going to be. They make one personnel change every year, whether they want to or not. That didn't happen this year. It's a wholesale changes. Everything is new. They're ready to lose. People are going to get minutes. People will fall in and out of the rotation. But if we can get there first, this could be a team that's going to have some value. It looks like.
Think about it, right? You've taken a guy out of the equation who had like a 34% usage rate last year. And then you're taking away their starting center. You're taking away like Joe Ingles and Bojan Bogdanovic. There's just so much up for grabs. And all these guys are kind of priced exactly like they were last year.
Yeah.
You know, Mike Conley's a 6K player. He was a 6K player last year. He's going to have to do more this season, at least until he gets traded.
All right, that reminds me. I had to look Mike Conley up real quick. 35. He just October 11th was his birthday. I aged him by 2 years. Mea culpa. I'm sorry. But yeah, I remember watching his dad, long jumper. Very good.
Yeah, I don't. Me and Mike
back
Conley
be back in the Carl Lewis days, way back in the days, the early to mid 80s. His dad did have an impressive dunk in a celebrity dunk contest from the free throw line. From the free throw, we would expect that from someone who long jumps 20 feet. So it was not too shabby. Not too shabby. All right. We're kind of at the midway point here as we head into game number 3, Minnesota at OKC. Minnesota somehow lost to Utah. Minnesota favored by 9 against OKC. The big news we, of course, are waiting on is what is going to happen with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander dealing with some knee soreness. This is a back-to-back. He played, I'm going from memory, but I think it was 34 minutes last night, and I forget it was 30, some ungodly number, like 37 or something like that in the first game. So no surprise. Why don't we run him into the ground, new coach Mark Daigneault? Because guess what? It's the home opener in Oklahoma City. And I think it's 1 in 5 chance he's actually going to suit up tonight.
Yeah, I think
so mad about this. I'm not going to let this
knows. He knows. He's like, listen, I'm only getting 30 games out of Shai. I'm going to play him as hard as I can while I have him. And yeah, I think anytime you get a player on the injury report for the Thunder or the Pacers or the Spurs, like for the most part, for the most part, assume that guy is not going to suit up. I think that's just kind of the rule of thumb for the time being. And maybe we're wrong. Maybe he does play. And if he does, he's clearly interesting on a slate that doesn't have a lot of top end talent, but I'm kind of proceeding for the time being like he won't be available.
Yeah. Will you even put him into lineups, or will you figure out how to get him into lineups?
Yeah, no, I think I'm keeping him out for the time being, and I will figure out ways. You know, there are other point guards that are priced, kind of up in that same ballpark, right? Donovan Mitchell is 8,600. De'Aaron Fox is 8,500. So Shai is 8,700 on DraftKings. You can kind of just work him in a little bit, mix and match in those spots.
All right. How do you feel about Josh Giddey?
Yeah, if Shai doesn't play, I think Josh Giddey is definitely an option at 7,400.
Are you boosting him? Did you create your projection? Because you create your own projections, right?
Yeah.
Or
I
do minutes. I know you do minutes. So in rotation. So with that, are you playing him now with the assumption that SGA is going to be out?
Yes, I am.
Are you creating lineups like that?
Correct.
Sorry. It's only my second NBA show. My phraseology isn't the same. This is different than basketball. It's different than single game NFL. By the way, 7:15 tonight, NFL Live before lock. My former show. I raised it from an unwanted, abandoned little show. They couldn't find anyone to do it with me in the first day. Now we get up to 1,200 concurrent viewers, and they take it away from me. It's in good hands with Neil Orfield and Eric Lindquist. But back to tonight. What are we doing with Giddey?
So, yeah, I think the big difference is Giddey will get to play more of like a traditional point guard type role if SGA doesn't suit up. And that's how I have it set up currently. He saw a 5% assist rate bump with SGA off the court last season. He averaged right around 1.1 DraftKings points per minute. He's been even better than that to start this year. He's at 1.3. I think at 7,400, it's a solid price tag for him. I don't think he's like a massive value, but he's somebody that for sure I want some exposure to, assuming SGA is out.
All right. Let's see, Steve Willer's move on. I'm assuming we're hitting on SGA too much. The reason we got to do this is that news isn't going to come out until after lock officially. It's going to be a full hour after the other games, and that's going to be the number one question that comes to us in our various DMs. What do I do now? Guess what? I'm going to be watching the football game, so I don't care what you're going to do when it actually happens, trying to prepare you for that. Now, just in these eventualities. But always good point. Sometimes I do need a little prodding there, Steve, to move along to more important topics. What else do you like from the rest of the Thunder? And then we can talk about some of the amazing talent that's on the Minnesota Timberwolves. Those are amazing talent, and Minnesota Timberwolves, not something we say a lot. What do you got with the rest of the Thunder?
Yeah, the Thunder are not a team I have a ton of exposure to. Even when you take SGA out of the equation, it's just kind of hard to figure out who's going to come in, who's going to play more. I do think that Lou Dort is pretty safe, right? Lou Dort thinks he's like the greatest scorer in the world whenever Shea comes off the court. The usage rate skyrockets. He increased it by 4.2% with Shea off the court last year, and he averaged 0.9 DraftKings points per minute. I think you can feel pretty good about him at 5,500 if Shea is out. After that, nobody really tickles my fancy all that much.
Yeah, and it's kind of unfortunate, but who knows what they're going to be doing, which is why we wanted Shea out there, because at least we could consolidate their production into two players. Now it's really just one, and it's close your eyes and reach into the grab bag. Minnesota, on the other hand, it's been kind of interesting watching Rudy Gobert along with Karl Anthony Towns. I think it seems like it could be a good match, at least in the regular season. Who knows what's going to happen in the playoffs? But the old sort of Twin Towers thing has not been tried in some time, at least with a very accomplished all-around passer, three-point shooting big man in Karl Anthony Towns, and then one of the best rim protectors in the history of the NBA in Rudy Gobert. So it's kind of an interesting match. And then you've got, of course, Anthony Edwards in the mix as well. And then they're still trying to figure out the rest of kind of the pecking order. There's going to be some, especially on their wings, some odd men out each night, similar to what we mentioned with New Orleans, except it's mostly going to be in their backcourt, because we kind of know what's going to happen with the front court as long as Karl Anthony Towns and Gobert are in the lineup. What is your take on the Minnesota, the new approach working into for today's NBA, a semi-unconventional setup, at least on defense, but Karl Anthony Towns is an accomplished outside the arc player, so it's not as much of a problem on offense. It's just, will this work on defense? How are they going to handle the switches? All that stuff. Will they be a beat behind? Who's going to get them in the pick and roll? We'll see. But how are you feeling about Minnesota?
Yeah, I don't love it. I get why they did it. I just think you're taking a really special offensive center in Karl Anthony Towns, and you're trying to turn him into like a 7-foot Klay Thompson, and it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Like he's such a matchup nightmare at center. At power forward, it's just kind of, he's just another guy who can shoot it from out there, and he is great on the perimeter. I'm not trying to knock that. Like he'll make it work. I just think that it's the same way I feel whenever the Lakers want to play Anthony Davis at power forward. Like you're taking away this potential matchup nightmare. So, but it should really help their defense, right? Just having Rudy Gobert in the middle to anchor things, like it should theoretically help them quite a bit. Didn't help them versus the Jazz, but it should help them in the future. This is a tough team for me tonight. I don't think any of these guys really stand out as strong options. Towns did shoot the ball 25 times in their last game, so that's a positive if you're looking for. But in the first game, his usage rate was just 17.3%. So, like, which version of Karl Anthony Towns are we going to get tonight? The 40% usage guy or the 17% guy? I mean, the answer is probably somewhere in the middle. I don't hate it if you want to have a little bit of exposure to him, but I'm really not playing much Gobert, not playing much Anthony Edwards. and not playing much D'Angelo Russell. So for me, Towns is sort of the priority from their core guys. I do think Jaden McDaniels has some appeal, right? He played 35 and a half minutes on opening night, and then he played like 39 minutes versus the Jazz. They have an injury in their rotation right now with Kyle Anderson out. So like, I think Jaden McDaniels is locked into a healthy role. It's just what kind of production is he going to bring to the table? I'm willing to go back to the well at 5,500. And I do think you can use Jalen Noel as a value option at 3,800.
All right. Gotta respond here to Matt Butler. Yes, I did misspeak. This is diagnosed third year COVID brain. Long COVID. It felt like we've had 4 seasons and not really any seasons at all in the last 2 years. Just time is a construct that just doesn't stay in its lane anymore after this whole pandemic.
Circle, man.
Yes, it definitely is. You are correct. I didn't realize. I went and double checked. I thought this might be a second year. I rolled the dice. I was incorrect. Thank you for pointing that out. There will be other things I will be wrong about. In the next 2 minutes, but I won't be in the next 1 minute, because the deal of the century right now, besides getting 10 days of Stokastic premium content for $10 by using the promo code Hardwood, is to go on over to our sponsor, No House Advantage. If you go through the link that is below us here in the description of the YouTube video, you will get a chance to get a deposit match up to $50 with your first deposit. You put in 50, they give you 50. You put in 20, they give you 20. You put in 100, they give you 50, because it's a $50 deposit match. But over there on No House Advantage, overlay is the operative word of the day. They've got overlay in their NBA contest tonight. And when we say overlay, we usually mean, the contest doesn't quite fill. They aren't quite getting half full on most of their contests. This is a marketing promotion. They want you to come over and play there. This is how we saw DraftKings make it splash into the world 10 years ago. This is the playbook that No House Advantage is going with as well. Well, what is No House Advantage? Well, it is a player prop contest site. They have 2 different formats. They have one format where you're playing against other gamers, peer-to-peer. For those formats tonight for the NBA, you would choose 10 questions. They have about 90 or so different questions you can ask for player props. And you rank them with confidence points 10 through 1. Get it correct, the confidence points become your score. Those scores are added up. That's how you compete against the other gamers. Don't play anybody who is ruled out. You have to actually play in the game to have your question count. That is an important thing to know. And then the other game format that they have is essentially, you can build 2, 3, 4, or 5 parlay cards. Those are active moving player props. You're going against the house, or versus is what they call that format, versus the house. But for those of you that don't have sports wagering, it's a way to get sort of a fantasy aspect that is basically making a parlay card of player props. Their regular tournaments, those props don't move. Once they post them, think of those like salaries. DraftKings, FanDuel, Yahoo, they don't move salaries around once they post the contest. That's why they can't change those lines. But it's a lot of fun. We also have free projections, as well as we've built out a few hundred entries for you, utilizing the best probabilities of the most success. And then over on No House Advantage, they have their own lineup uploader and lineup builder there as well. They're trying to take care of you. They're going to be around here for a while. No House Advantage. Use the promo code, or use the promo link below us. Go in and get your $50 deposit match. I was excited there. I was shoehorning it in. Do you need to mention Anthony Edwards, any of the other wings or guards for the T-Wolves?
No, again, I'm not really in on the Timberwolves tonight.
Yeah.
Especially if Shea fits.
Haters gonna hate. I mean, we got the Minnesota crew coming on after us, or the Minnesota fans in Lindquist and Orfield. Shots fired. I like this. Way to go, Matt. I was talking about starting some beef. Let's start beef. Forget other town. Let's start it within Stokastic. It's going to be fun.
I'm down to beef with Eric.
Okay.
Although I am afraid of what's his name? Duke. Duke's the dog.
Duke is rather large. Duke is like well over 100 pounds now.
I would not mess with Eric if Duke was around to serve as the bouncer.
All right. 2 games to go. We've got we're gonna get out of here promptly at 7 so they can turn over the show for NFL Live Before Lock. That will be coming in on a different stream, but you guys will be in good hands on that one with Neil and with Eric Lindquist. Moving back to Sacramento and Golden State. Sacramento played last night, almost got a victory there against the Clippers. A little bit of a surprise, but they are now going to Golden State to take on the Warriors. They are 10-point underdogs. The Warriors are, the Warriors. Do we see anybody play more than 30 minutes? They may not need to tonight, but could you see Curry coming in and raining down 7 or 8 threes? Yeah, absolutely. So he's still in play. The floor is there. The potential ceiling, well, he's going to have to get it done in 3 quarters. Have we seen him get it done in 3 quarters? Why, yes. Yes, we have. Yes, we have. So talk first here about the Sacramento side. You've got Domantas Sabonis in there. You have De'Aaron Fox does not have to worry about Tyrese Halliburton taking over his job because Tyrese Halliburton was shipped out there for Domantas Sabonis. You've got Barnes in the mix, and then I'm blanking on his name, but their rookie played last night. He came out of the health and safety protocol, looked pretty good per the box score. I was asleep before that game happened, but looked pretty good in the box score there. I was kind of happy with that. Should be good to go tonight for similar minutes. What do you want to do here with the Kings? They could be frisky at least until they till they get underwater by about 7 games below 500, which will be what, 12 games into the season, something like that. Optimism.
That's quick underwater.
Optimism.
Yeah, I think De'Aaron Fox is kind of flying a little bit under the radar for his start to the year, right? Like he really has been let off the leash to start the season. Usage rate of at least 39% in back-to-back games. He is 8,500, but he's already gone for 55 basically in 2 straight games. I think for sure we can go back to the well with this guy. Maybe there is some blowout concern here. They are 10-point underdogs, but he's projected for 7% ownership on DraftKings. Give me De'Aaron Fox at 7% on a 5-game slate every day of the week.
Yeah, he's so good. And the scoring, it makes him, and the steals make him, that's how he gets the access to his fantasy upside. And it's something where he does have the ability to get to 50 fantasy points in any matchup. And that's something that I think it goes overlooked. Does he get there often? No, he's quite inconsistent. That's what keeps his price at a reasonable level. Golden State, we know their defense is pretty decent, but Draymond Green probably not going to play more than 24, 28 minutes. And he's the key to making that all go. Plus it's Sacramento. They could just sit there and shoot threes and beat Sacramento tonight. It's not like they're going to have to do lockdown defense for that one. What do you like from the Warriors, from the Dubs here?
From the Warriors, I'm kind of avoiding Steph tonight at 99. Like, again, I would rather play the De'Aaron Foxes, the Donovan Mitchells, the CJ McCollums. Like, I think that all those guys are just better per dollar plays. And Steph, of course, has an incredible upside. We know that is the case every time he takes the floor, but just given the amount of talent on this team and, what their expectations are, I'm not expecting them to push him very hard in the early portion of the season. So for the most part, I'm going to be out on Steph on most nights. The guy that I think is the best play for them tonight is Jordan Poole at 5,900. He hasn't really shot the ball well to start the year. He's 6 for 20 through the first 2 games, but the minutes are there. The usage should be there. He was around a fantasy point per minute type of player last year. I think he's a solid mid-range option at 5,900 in a really good spot against the Kings.
All right. Keegan Murray. That was the name I was trying to find.
Yeah, he did play well. He was pretty efficient. I was making fun of him for being an old rookie. He's really not as old as I thought, but I do think he's going to come in like as a somewhat polished product, like similar to how Duarte was for the Pacers last year. Like he's not a 19-year-old kid. He's 21, 22. He kind of is a little bit more equipped to go be a professional basketball player.
Yep, he turned 22 in August. I'm just seeing what's the best way. I wonder, did he play? He played 4 years at Iowa, didn't he?
Who knows? The COVID stuff made things weird.
Yeah, you're right. It's fair enough. Fair enough. But yes, so he's when you get these guys that are like this, they will start out a little quicker, but their trajectory is not as steep, right? They get the bump from their starting point, and then they just kind of plateau in most cases, unless of course you're Fred Van Elite, the only undrafted player who played 4 years in college and then came on to get a max extension contract. Fred Van Elite, what a stud! What a stud! Would you game stack this one? Let me rephrase that. Would you go two from each side? Kind of a mini stacking.
I would say probably not. I don't.
Would you go three Kings and Steph Curry?
No. The issue for me in a stack is the King side, right? Like if I like De'Aaron Fox, and I do, like I want him to have another 40% type of usage game. And that just kind of makes it hard for the rest of the team to also access a ceiling. So like, I think if you wanted to stack a game, that the Jazz and the Pelicans would be my choice. It's got a comparable total, a little bit less blowout risk in my opinion. And again, I think that the Jazz are just like very underpriced. So pick a couple of your favorite guys over there, grab your favorite Pelican stud or two. That would be the way I would stack tonight.
How are you feeling about Kevin Huerter?
Meh. He's been fine.
Is he a little redundant with different playing style, but similar skill set to Harrison Barnes?
Yeah, I mean, the Harrison Barnes era might just be over. I know that our models, our boom bust tool loves him again tonight. I have a hard time getting there. It loved him yesterday. He had 18.25 DraftKings points. He was only 2 for 10 from the field. He'll be better than that. But like when Harrison Barnes was giving us real fantasy value, he was playing like 36, 37, 38 minutes a night. He's going to be closer to 30 now with Keegan Murray in the equation, with Huerter in the equation. I expect Davion Mitchell to play eventually, even though he's had like no minutes to start the year. Like at some point, they kind of have to just trade him, maybe even buy him out. I don't know. Like he just doesn't fit with the current makeup of the team, which is basically all young dudes.
How are you feeling? I don't even want to go there. What, like a Jordan Poole, anybody else in the Kuminga? Do we get some fourth quarter mop up duty?
I think if you wanted to play that role, I would lean possibly towards Dante DiVincenzo, because I do think he's going to get minutes regardless, right? Like he's in the rotation at the moment. And I do think that if the game turns into a blowout, he would still be on the court. So I feel the best about his combination of like current role plus potential mop-up duty. He's 3,800. He hasn't had a great start to the year, but he's been a pretty good per minute producer in the past. I wouldn't hate that option if you wanted to go with sort of the blowout narrative.
All right. Yeah, you are absolutely correct with the Harrison Barnes. If you don't cap him on our projections or his popularity, you're going to get him in about half your lineups.
He's got the best leverage score on the slate as far as I can tell right now. So I have manually tuned him down for sure in my projections.
Yeah, DeAndre Ayton is screaming up the charts as well. Donovan Mitchell going to be up there. CJ McCollum, kind of want to be careful on that one just because we said it could be any of those guys. Night in, night out, his is all going to come down to is he sinking threes. He'll always be right around 30 fantasy points, but his upside is going to be scoring dependent. Ingram can get there in a variety of ways. Zion and Jovel have the rebounding potential blocks, etc., that they can get there. But McCollum's he's always going to have a high error bar or high outcome bar on either side, just because it all comes. I mean, if he hits an extra 3-pointers, he's got a 30% bump on his projection, right? And that's totally within his realm of outcomes. for that one. Yikes! Yeah, it's only money. What the heck? I'm gonna have one hell of a lineup here tonight. We got 12 minutes to go. Cameron Johnson, what is his deal? What is his major malfunction? Because he's coming in a lot of my lineups. The second you tamp down Harrison Barnes, up goes Cameron Johnson here. Right hip contusion, only got shots up during Saturday's practice. What do you think?
Yeah.
GTD?
No, I really don't have a feel on that one either way. If he does sit, it sounds like Landry Shamet is going to suit up for the first time all year. He could probably absorb some of those minutes.
He's familiar with the shooting backdrop, right?
We've seen Damian Lee absorb some of his minutes recently. So I think you can put him in. He does sort of stand out as one of the better value plays on the slate. If he does suit up, Jay Crowder still sidelined. But if he's out, I think we can pivot around to some of the other Suns guys. They're all going to be a little bit cheaper, and it's the last game of the night. Like, we have plenty of time to adjust if we need to.
How much DeAndre Ayton would you get to?
Yeah, it's a good question. I do think, like, on a per dollar basis, he's probably the best play on this slate. However, I always worry about the upside with him. Like, he just doesn't play as many minutes as you think he's going to, except in their last game when he randomly popped off for 38 and a half. But I typically have him as closer to like a 30-minute type of guy. I think that him getting to 40 points tonight is very doable for him. But any more than that is where I start to push back a little bit. So I do think that he is a good play, but he's going to be probably the highest owned player on the entire slate. So I will be underweight on him. Right now we have him projected for close to 40% ownership, but he's coming in at the optimal at just 26%. So I'll be closer to that mark. I'll be closer to 25% on Ayton. Again, I think he's like, if I was making a cash game lineup tonight, he would certainly be in there. But for a tournament, he's not the type of player that I want to take a stand on when he's projected to be the chalk.
I've got like 70%. It doesn't feel good. The challenge is he going to shoot the ball? That's what it comes down to. In the last game, the answer was yes. He took 22 field goal attempts. That was his highest mark. Oh, let's just call that in his last. Well, he did it. He did over 20 twice last year. He never got over 20. I'm just quickly scrolling through box scores. The year prior, 16 looks like it was his highest. So, wow. We shall see. That does seem a bit much. How are you feeling about Kawhi, John Wall? They got the night off last night. We're going to probably see them not play on back-to-backs. They were gearing up for this game because they didn't really need them. Almost needed them, but didn't end up needing them in Sacramento last night. How do you feel about those guys? It's harder going to Kawhi off the bench, but John Wall's kind of interesting, or is that more of a late slate if they even have a late slate tonight play?
Yeah, I can't play either of those guys just given the minutes, right? Like, Kawhi is probably going to be capped at like 20 to 24 minutes for the early part of the year. They're really going to take it. Like, we've seen NBA teams take it slow with players in the past. The Clippers are going to take it even slower than that with Kawhi Leonard. I think for me, the Clippers that I'm targeting tonight, I will be going back to the well with Ivica Zubac. He hurt me badly yesterday. He was one of my highest owned players. He only played 24 minutes. Just when you think you know what's going to happen with that guy, he breaks your heart. So naturally, he's not going to be nearly as popular tonight, and I will go back to the well on him.
And for a lot of him, it's going to be matchup dependent. It all comes down to, does he set foot on the court in the fourth quarter? Because if they go small, they got plenty of people that can play the five, let alone Kawhi or Marcus Morris or a variety of people. So it makes it really hard unless you have someone like DeAndre Ayton on the other team. We shall see.
And then as far as Paul George goes, I do think that, like, clearly yesterday was the day to play him. He posted a 44% usage rate. But I think you can use him again tonight. He's got a pretty neutral leverage score. People aren't going to play him. because Kawhi and Wall are going to be back in the mix. But like Paul George is the one guy on the Clippers who you can safely pencil in for 36 minutes tonight, right? He played 36 minutes with those guys on opening night. He just didn't have a particularly good game. So I think that there will be opportunities for him to produce even when the team is at full strength this year.
All right. I have tapped my DeAndre Ayton down to 40%. I got it back to the field. We'll see. We'll see. I feel like I'm I don't know. I've got 40% Ivica Zubac, so whatevs. We're going to upload these lineups because we have 6 minutes to go here. I do want to remind everybody again, promo code Hardwood gets you 10 days of all access Stokastic premium, everything, not just NBA, everything. $10 for 10 days, promo code Hardwood. We also have the BetMGM promo. If you come in through the link below us here in the YouTube description, click through that, go create your account at BetMGM. You must be creating a new account, put a bet on the NHL money line of any NHL game. There's just one left tonight, but there will be a bunch tomorrow. Put in a money line bet, and if any team scores a goal, you will get $200. Remember, there are no longer ties in the NHL. And then we also, of course, have No House Advantage. You can get the promo code BOOST on your initial deposit up to $50 by going in through the link below us. Looks like they're shaping up for some nice overlay as well tonight. And then, of course, they do have single game contests for NFL. So that will be covered by the show coming up in 20 minutes, breaking down Sunday Night Football. Matt, any overarching thoughts here? Any player you're terrified of not having enough of or having too much fun?
I would say the player that I'm scared I don't have enough of is probably Steph Curry. Like Steph Curry is a slate breaker. It's what he does. But again, at 10K, slightly reduced minutes to start the year, I'm not as comfortable playing him as some of the other stars. Guy that I might have too much of is probably going to be De'Aaron Fox. I'm going to be pretty significantly overweight on him, I think. And there's obviously some blowout concerns with Sacramento. Like there's a chance that game just is over by the fourth quarter and then Fox doesn't have to do nearly as much. But I do think if that game stays close, he's going to have a little flame emoji next to him on the DraftKings app tonight.
Kenrich Williams is a name that's popping in my lineups now.
I have a little bit of Kenrich.
Do not feel good about that.
I mean, you got to find some value somewhere. There's like he's going to be on the court for at least a couple of minutes here and there. It's okay. I think that's fine to have some. How much is some?
17%.
Okay.
That's a later game. I will have time to shift that around.
Yeah.
It says SGA, T McBee dropped me a note, said SGA is at least in shoot around right now. That game's not for another hour, but I guess that's something. That's all I got with that. I don't have enough Zion Williamson or Karl Anthony Towns. That's okay. I have nowhere near enough Rudy Gobert. That's disappointing.
I hope you had some Josh Jacobs.
I know he
was the chalk today, but he is going off.
Prize picks. I needed Josh Jacobs, but I also need who's the kid that's the quarterback for the Jets?
Zach Wilson.
I needed him to get like 140 yards. He didn't have it when he only has 120. I'm not going to get there. Damn it. But it's only money, Matt. It's only money. But we have all sorts of in the Discord here. You got to dip your toe into the betting Discords. You've got Lindy's got his own channel. Raza does. Gajeski, Aaron Berg, Laffy, Ben, Shander. They're all putting out bets all the time, and it is a lot of fun. You can tail them. You don't have to do the heavy lifting. I have been enjoying that a lot. They sort through all that stuff for you. Had a nice 15 into 150 5-leg college football player parlay yesterday. Straight from the Matt Gajeski list. He listed 7. I chose 5. Cha-ching. It's always supposed to be like that, right?
It's always fun when it's easy.
Yes. NBA, tougher nut to crack here. But we've got 2 minutes to go. So just get those lineups in. We've got 2 games now. We've got one at 8, one at 8:30. And then is it 9 o'clock for the last? Oh, God, please let it not be 10. I want to at least watch a little bit of that game. Oh, the things we root for when we're old. Oh, it is a 10 o'clock game on NBA TV. So round the fourth quarter of the NFL game, you'll be able to catch the second half of the last basketball game. I should go have some coffee with dinner because I'm going to need it if I want to stay up that late. We shall see. We shall see. Matt, anything you want to tell the people before we dip on out of here?
I'm happy to be back, happy to be spending time with you guys. Hopefully you're not hating my presence on the stream. And play Utah tonight. Play Utah and De'Aaron Fox. Those are my like contrarian-ish thoughts on this slate.
All right. Excellent. With that, we're going to get on out of here. 1,000 people watching. Hit that like button on the way out. Love to see that get up to 250. We would appreciate it. Helps us with those pesky YouTube overlords. You can find Matt out there on Twitter at Matt LaMarca. I am at EMac DFS. Of course, it is Stokastic _COM. With that, shout out producer Tyler Zander. Good luck, gamers.